hopefully you're doing well and getting ready for your stretching session. Today I'm going to take you through all my favorite stretches, from legs to hips to abs, chest, arms, neck, everything. So I'm going to run you through all my favorite stretches. Make sure that before you stretch, you warm up your muscles, your body, so you don't stretch cold muscles, because cold muscles are not going to stretch very well. So, I went for a bike ride this morning, and it's a beautiful day out here in Devon. It's finally sunny and it was amazing. And I feel my body is now ready to be stretched. All my muscles are really warm. So that's what you want to do, sort of warm up all your muscles. How you do it's up to you. You can go for a walk or hike, maybe bike ride, maybe go up and down the stairs a few times. Or go on the roller, do some press-ups. So just make sure that you're nice and warm, that you're not stretching cold muscles. Another thing I recommend, before you do any stretch, consider how long you're going to do it for. I recommend personally at least 20 seconds each stretch, 20 to probably a minute. It depends on the area that you're stretching. So if you're stretching a tighter area, maybe you have to focus or emphasize that area a little bit more, because maybe you're tighter in your pecs or tighter in your calves, then you might want to take a bit extra. And normally what we'll do a 20-30 second stretch a couple times. So you're going to do it at least twice or maybe even 3 times. That's what I personally recommend. Again, everyone's very individual. Some people like to hold their stretches a lot longer, maybe like around a minute or so, and some people prefer to do half a minute. So it's up to you, whichever one you choose, but maybe don't do less than 20 seconds, because you're not going to really get the muscle kind of ease into it. Another thing I recommend is breathing while you're stretching, because when you breathe out, your muscle actually kind of gives in and it relaxes and it gives in into the stretch. If you hold your breath in and then you're trying to stretch out any of the muscle groups, you're holding your breath in, that means your muscles are contracting and not getting sort of into the stretch. Okay, so today we're going to start off with legs. As I've been for a bike ride, I feel like I need to really stretch out my legs. We're going to start with calves and move up to quads, and then we're going to do hamstrings and adductors as well. So stay with me. So today we're going to start our stretching routine with the legs. And we're going to start with calves first, then quads, then hamstrings and adductors, and then move up the body. You can also start from the neck and work your way down, but I prefer to start with legs, but it's up to you really. The sequence doesn't really matter, I think. So we go into the calf stretch straight away. The calf still muscle right here, back here, the back of your leg, and you push your hands into the wall, place your hands onto the wall and you push them into the wall, and then you push your calf back, your ankle right into the floor. And you hold that stretch for 30 seconds. Make sure you're breathing. You can also hold it for more than 30 seconds, but today we will do everything a bit shorter just because of the video. But normally I hold it anywhere between 30 seconds to 60 seconds. And then you change legs and you do exactly the same for the other side. And again you hold 30 seconds. Make sure you're breathing, remember? Deep breaths and exhale out. 30 seconds hold. And then you come up and you do it once again on both sides. So we'll do with a 2 repetition twice. You can do more repetitions, you can repeat it thrice or even 4 times, but for today we'll just keep it at about 30 seconds, 2 times on each side. So moving up now, up the legs. So we've done the calves, we are going into quad stretch. If you're biking or running or hiking, even walking, quads can get really, really tight. So what I do, this is my favorite stretch. Obviously there's tons of stretches out there, but I'm just sharing my favorite ones with you because I just feel they help me the most and they're the easiest to do with least amount of injury. Because remember, some stretches can actually injure you, so if you feel any pain, don't do that stretch. Your stretching should feel very relaxing and almost very comfortable. You shouldn't feel like you're holding against the pain. So this stretch is also usually pretty good for most people. Some people are very tight, so you might need the massage first if you're really tight. But you might want to hold on to something like a wall. Then grab your ankle right here. And then you pull it into towards your back, okay? Or towards your glutes. So you pull that ankle right in. And you will feel a nice stretch along here, along your quads, yeah? And again, holding 30 seconds, breathing, all the good things, yeah? Making sure it doesn't hurt. If you can't do it, if you have to do it with pain, I would recommend skipping out on this stretch or maybe modifying. This is one of the easiest quad stretches that I know. There are some that are a little bit more difficult and a bit more injury prone, but this is probably one of the easiest ones to do, especially if you're holding on to something. And then you switch sides. Yeah? Then you hold on to, and make sure you're holding on to the wall or door or something. Again, grab your ankle, bring it in. Yeah. So again, should feel a nice gentle stretch in your quadriceps there. Yeah, remember, quadriceps is composed of 4 different muscles, four separate muscles, but all together they're called quads. A very interesting muscle group. Can get a lot of knee pain if this muscle group is very, very tight. Can get a lot of problems with your knees or even your hips. So very important. So again, you stretch them out once and then you do it again on both sides. So for the next stretch, we're going to be moving on to hamstrings, which are at the back of your leg right here. And you're going to be a bit careful with this stretch. If your hamstrings are very, very tight, be very careful and don't go maybe all the way to the floor. But what you really want to do is kind of lean into the stretch. Like I said, this stretch can sometimes cause back injury, so be very, very careful. If you feel like I'm not feeling comfortable in a stretch at all, don't do it. We'll find a modified stretch for you in time. So what you want to do is keep your feet quite wide, yeah, and then you're going to just relax your shoulders, drop them down, and see how far you can go. And usually, you know, if you're flexible, you should be able to touch the floor, and then you just kind of rest the stretch there and you hold it for 30 seconds. Remember breathing again. Yeah. And it's a very good stretch. I mean, I can feel right now the hamstrings just getting a really, really nice warm stretchy kind of pulling feeling. There's no pain. Just breathing. So I can hold this stretch for a very long time. It feels almost pleasurable to feel that little nice warm pulling at the back of the leg. Again, if it's very painful for you, you might want to consider rolling your hamstrings out or maybe massaging them first before you do any kind of stretching on them. And then you very, very gently, slowly come up and relax, shake out your legs maybe, and then you do it again. So the next stretch for the legs, you're wondering why I'm on the floor, but it's still on legs. We're still working on legs, but it's the adductors, so it's the internal leg muscle here. I am probably the most tightest this is probably one of the most tightest areas for me. So I gotta be very careful with this stretch. You gotta do it very easy into it. Don't overdo it. You might want to hold it longer, but maybe not pull more and kind of force it more. So what I do is usually have one leg on the knee and then stretch one leg out on the side. Yeah, like this. And then just kind of slowly lean forward. Sometimes I want to go forward a little bit more, and you will feel a nice stretch along the inside of your thigh. Again, remember breathing. Yeah, try to relax the leg. I can feel that I'm tensing it a little bit because that's one of my tighter areas. So I'm trying to kind of relax it now so it actually gets into the stretch. Because when it's tight, it doesn't really, when you're holding breath in, it doesn't really stretch very well. So we do it for 30 seconds, and come up, and we change sides. And exactly the same thing on the other side. Yeah. So we'll pull it out, and again, pull it in. You can also do it just like this as well. I can feel a nice stretch already. Yeah, but if I go down forward, I can feel that I'm kind of going a little bit deeper into the stretch. Yeah. And again, we hold it for 30 seconds. Another thing that I forgot to tell you guys at the beginning is that when you're stretching, make sure that you're wearing something warm, even if it's like really warm and you're feeling quite warm. I would recommend keeping your clothes on and having a warm room, because your muscles will stretch better in a kind of warmer, hotter place. And if it's very cold inside and you're stretching in a cold room in shorts, you're not going to be a very good result. Yeah. So again, come out of each stretch really, really slowly and gently to not pull any muscles or damage anything more. Yeah, especially if you have some injury areas. So yeah, and then you do it again on both sides, and then once you've done that, we're done with the legs for today. I mean, there's a lot more stretches that I'll show in the future for legs, and we can modify them. So if you have tighter hamstrings, we might modify it and find like an easier stretch for you. But for now, that's it for the legs. We're moving into hips and glutes. Stay with me. Alright guys, so moving on. So we've done the legs, moving on to hips. I mean, hips obviously they are connected to legs still. So if you have more flexible quads, then that's going to affect your hips, and vice versa. If you have more flexible hips, that will affect your other areas. So this is my favorite hip stretch. I mean, I'm really tight in my hips, so I'm not the most flexible in my hips, but you might need a pillow or something soft, and you place one knee on the pillow and the other leg kind of comes out. Just make sure that you're not doing this, that your knee is not passing the toe, the front toe. Make sure your toe is either in line with the knee or a little bit further away. So first you want to get in this position. 90 degrees here. Nice stretch. Hands on your hips. That's the first one you want to do. And that's the easiest one, but I'll show you a couple of progressions in this. As my hips are really tight, I spend a little bit more time kind of stretching them out. Tennis players do have to get really tight hips. So that's the first one, 30 seconds on this, and then I go into the second one, which is raising your opposite. So if I'm stretching this side, I'm raising the same arm up at the side I'm stretching. That makes sense, because when you're doing this, you're immediately lengthening these muscles. And not only that you're stretching hips, you're probably stretching just your backside as well. Again, don't forget to breathe. You would want to probably look up, because any kind of upwards movement will help to lengthen your hip muscle. Yeah? So 30 seconds there. I mean, there's another one that I do from here. You might want to try. This is the second progression, and there's a couple more, but I'll just stick with 3 for today. Is grab your hand, and then you can pull your hand across, and in that way you're pulling this muscle even more, so you're lengthening. The whole idea of stretching is that you're lengthening that muscle group, that muscle. Yeah. Again, 30 seconds hold, breathing. It's getting a bit harder for me, so I can't talk now. Yeah, good stretching. Yeah. And then, again, come out of it really slowly. And then doing the other side. So again, get in that nice position. Make sure you're really stable, because if you're already kind of wobbling in this position, you probably don't want to start lifting your arms up, because it's going to affect your balance. So you want to make sure you're really balanced. And actually, one thing that I'm feeling is that not only my hip is stretching, but I feel a little bit of stretch also in my quad as well. Yeah. So you might be, partially stretching your quads as well still. But the focus still is on hips more than quads, for me personally, in this stretch. But again, if you really tighten your quads, you might feel it more in your quads than in your hips. Yeah, so keep that in mind. Right, hands on your hips, 30 seconds, breathe. Whew. Yeah, this is good. Nice little pull, no pain. Definitely it gets harder once you start lifting. Your arm up. And you can do it in a flow. So if I wasn't teaching you guys, then I would just do it in a flow. At some point in the stretch I would go across, grab my hand and then pull it across and upwards to lengthen that, and breathe. You're going to kind of find a biting point where you feel like it's not too much, but also it's enough to have like that muscle really, really stretched out. Breathing, look up. Very good, very good. Oh yes, it's great. Okay, right, so again, slowly come out of it, and now, so moving on to glutes. Glutes is your buttocks, so it's your bottom, yeah. So that can get very, very tight in tennis players because a lot of lateral movement. So the way I stretch out my glutes, I mean there's loads of glute stretches, but this is quite a simple one. You might want a pillow, you might not need a pillow necessarily. I'll keep a pillow this time. So you go on the floor and lie down. Just get in this position first. Straighten one of your legs, but the other one, your other leg, you're going to grab it by the ankle and you're going to grab it by the knee. And what you're going to do, instead of just pulling it into you, you can do this as well. It stretches your glute just a little bit. But if you pull it like across, kind of on the side, yeah, that stretches, yeah, your glute here on the side. So that's one of the stretches that I do. Again, remember 30 seconds. Very comfortable stretch, not too much, just nice and pleasant. Nice. And then you switch sides again. Remember to breathe through all your stretches. Yeah, knee, one hand on the ankle, one on the knee, and then we pull into your chest, but also a little bit across. Because when you pull across, that enhances the glute stretch. Yeah. Oh, it's really tight, but also I can feel how it's nicely stretching that glute now. Just gotta remember to breathe. And we count to 30. Yeah, and then slowly come out of the stretch. So that's one of the glute stretches. So again, you do it 2 times on each side, and then next we're going to move to lower back. Yeah, so we're just literally covering all the body parts, as you can see, moving up, making sure we're not skipping anything. Lower back. Right. Well, this one is actually quite, I'm going to show you from this side. Maybe a bit easier for you to see. I'm just going to go this way. So again, you lie down. But this time what you'll need to do is hold on to both of your knees and then pull your knees. Just maybe clasp your hands so you have better grip, and just kind of really relax into it. Breathe and pull your knees into your chest. And this is one of the easiest, non-intrusive lower back stretches. There's a lot more, but some of them can be a little bit dangerous for injuries. And then you breathe again. And this stretch is actually, this is one of the stretches I sometimes finish my routine in, and you just lie into this stretch. You hold your knees into your chest. You know, if you have a nice view outside and you have a little window, just look outside, look at the birds or the sky or something, and kind of meditate. It's a very, very comfortable position. Another really good back stretch for your lower back is where you lie down and do the previous position where you bring your knees in. Yeah, but then from here you're going to go sideways, so watch. Bring your knees side, so you go on the side, hold on with your other hand, with your lower hand. And then you open up your chest and push your right hand all the way and try to look to the other side. Again, don't forget to breathe. And we do that for about 30 seconds. Nicely releases your lower back again. If you have any lower back issues, I wouldn't recommend doing this. Maybe you might want to be in pretty good shape in your lower back to do this exercise, because it strains a little bit more. And then we bring the knees in again. Yeah. And then we go to the other side. Breathe out again and relax into the stretch. Hold for about 30 seconds. Again, breathe and half a minute. And one side might be easier for you than the other side, and it's perfectly normal, especially for tennis players. You might have if you're right-handed, you might have your right side tighter, like I do. And then you come back to the neutral position again. Yeah. And then from here, you'll go a couple more times into that stretch. Yeah. And another lower back stretch that I'm going to show you today, and it's also a very safe stretch, is going into this position and then walking your hands out. Make sure you breathe and you hold 30 seconds. And then you come up. Make sure that your knees are a bit wide, so you can drop your kind of weight, your body through in the middle. If you do this, you can do this as well in some yoga classes. You know, they do this one as well. I personally prefer knees out a little bit, so I can feel like I can go a bit lower that way. Yeah. So now we'll move on to the abs. Okay, so abs, I find they're quite difficult to stretch, but I found one stretch which is pretty easy to do. There are some other stretches which I found they're quite difficult, so I'm not going to show you those. But the easier one is where you, first of all, the first stage, you go just in a resting position. If you can do this, then you can only then go to the next phase, which is called kind of modified cobra, because I can't actually do the full cobra that comfortably. So you can stretch your abs in this position. You're actually slightly stretching your abs when you're like this. But if you come up a little bit more off the ground and push your, then I can definitely feel there's a lot more stretch now into my abdominal region. Make sure you're looking up, try to push your head up, and if you're really flexible and your back is okay with this, make sure your back's okay, because back, you can injure your back if you're not careful with this. You can go in a full cobra, which is all the way up, and hold 30 seconds. Breathe. And once you're done 30 seconds, or if you can't 30, then just do 20. And I would recommend after this one, going back into the reverse and stretch your back again. So, we're moving on. We have done all the legs, we have done the hips, we have done the glutes, we have done lower back. So we'll stretch upper back a little bit now, and then we're going to move into chest and arms. Okay, so the way I stretch upper back, there is a few exercises that you can do on a tennis court, which I'll show you when we start going outside again. But at home, this is the one I do for to kind of open up my upper back. So I clasp my hands and then I push them outwards like this. And then I try to just kind of lean in and hold this stretch. So kind of feel that you're curving out your upper back, yeah? And again, hold for 30 seconds. Relax, breathe in, breathe out, and then you do that again for another 30 seconds. And to counter this movement, what I usually do right straight after this movement is I clasp my hands behind my back this time and I push my chest out. So it's exactly sort of the opposite movement here. Yeah, so I'm stretching the upper back and then I'm stretching the upper on the chest, the upper body. And again, 30 seconds. Now you might want to alternate between this one and this one. 30 seconds on one and 30 seconds on the other one. And one more stretch for your upper back is you go into the side position, feet, legs, knees a little bit wide. So this position in yoga is called the cat and the camel position. So you go, first you just go in the neutral position like this. You might need a little bit more room, like this. So you go in a neutral position, and then you're going to go into the camel. Stretch out your upper back. Make sure you go all the way up. And make sure you go into the sort of push out your upper back. You hold that 30 seconds and breathe. And from this position we go back into neutral, and then immediately we go into the cat, which is pushing your back, lower back inwards and your head up, which is exactly the opposite of what we've just done. And again 30 seconds, and then we go back into the camel, and 30 seconds, and then you go back, breathe out, and back into the cat. So now into the chest and your arms. One of the chest stretches we just done in the previous one was the one where you open up your chest like this. Yeah, it's a very good one. Make sure you're looking up and then you're extending all that chest. And then from there we move into more into arms as well, but it stretches your chest as well. So the one I like to do, and there's some modifications to it as well to make it harder, but the easiest one is place the hand on the wall about shoulder height. Make sure you're not placing it really high or low. Just straight on, and then you stand to the wall. Shoulder level, yeah? Just hold it. So see if you can just stand there and just hold that position first for a few seconds. Now if that feels comfortable, you can start turning a little bit that way. Okay, so you start turning. Right, so make sure you're breathing again, because it's going to be very important to relax all those muscles and let them loosen up there. As you're turning, you breathe, and now in this position I'm a slight angle, so I was here before, just turning at a slight angle. I can feel all of this is starting to really lengthen, yeah, and stretch, which is exactly what we want. And if you want to make the stretch a little bit more difficult and kind of progress it, then you turn a little more outwards and you start looking the other way, away from your arm. And you turn your arm, you turn your head around just a little bit. Keep breathing. Another modification or progression, and then you bring your right hand, your opposite hand up, and you start moving it outwards as you're looking away. And that is a very good stretch. Really opens up your chest. Don't forget to breathe. Make sure your arm is straight. Don't start bending it. Make sure it's straight. So we start here. Start turning. If you can't do it, then just stay in the first modification or the first progression. If you can do this, there's another modification even harder, but Maybe I'll do that next time. And there you go, that's for the chest. Then we do it on the other side. If you want to make it harder, actually I'm going to show you. If you want to make it harder, so if you don't want to make it harder, you do the same thing, just here, and then you're turning. Yeah. If you want to make it slightly harder, you turn your palm this way. That's going to start stretching not just your arm, but also your forearm as well. So I like to do that because I feel like all these muscles are now stretching, not just these, but also my lower arm, my forearm muscles as well, and a little bit of wrist. Turn your hand like this and you place it on the wall this way. If that feels hard, then just do the first version. But if you can tolerate and you feel like this is actually quite a nice stretch for you, make sure again it's shoulder level. Then you go and do the same thing this way. Okay, open up, breathe in, breathe out, and then slowly take yourself as far as it's comfortable. When it feels a bit too far, then stay where it's pretty comfortable, but you're still feeling the stretch. And there you breathe, and breathe again. And that, and then we change again and do both sides one more time. And now we're going to stretch out our sides. So the way to do it, it's a very easy one. Most people can do it with no problems. You keep your feet apart a little bit. You come up, you clasp one of your wrists with your hand, and then you pull that to the side while you're breathing out. And you hold that for 30 seconds. Don't forget to breathe again. And nicely stretching out your sides. Then you come to the middle, come up again, clasp the other hand or wrist, and we do the same thing on the other side. Again, breathing in, breathing out, and hold 10 seconds. And come back to the neutral and relax your shoulders. And now we're going to stretch out forearms. This is one of my favorite stretches, I think, for tennis players. We're gripping the racket all the time, so forearms, especially your dominant hand, can get really tight. This is probably my favorite stretch. What I do, you go down on the floor, and you open up your arms, your hands like this, and what you're going to do, you're going to press them in straight. Make sure your arms are straight. Yeah. And press them into the floor, and then you kind of feel, you should be feeling a very slight stretch in this area here. Yeah. Hold that stretch again for 30 seconds. It's nice for things like, if you have the carpal syndrome, carpal tunnel syndrome. It's very good. I know people who've cured it, by stretching this way and doing massage and stuff. And then we place hands the opposite way. So instead of placing this way, you place them this way. You turn the palms inward, and then push just a little bit. Again, nothing should hurt. Nothing should hurt. If anything hurts, don't do it. Okay. Yeah, just a nice gentle stretch. Okay, again we're feeling a little bit more stretch here. Nice. Yeah, and again we hold 30 seconds while breathing. And then we come up and do it again on both sides. What you do, you can do it standing. You can do this standing up or sitting down or being on the floor. You place your hand out and then you hold your fingers down a little bit with your other hand. Make sure your arm is straight, and then you push the fingers down a little bit. Make sure your arm is straight and about shoulder level. Just hold that. You hold that for 30 seconds. Yeah, just like that. And then you relax it. Then you do the same thing on the other hand. On the other hand. Yeah, breathe in, breathe out. There's also a separate stretch for your thumb that I'll show. If any of you want to know, just message me and I'll show you a separate, I'll send you a separate stretch for thumb as well. If you're particularly tight in your hands, then there's loads of stretches. Then moving on, so we stretch these muscles. Now we're stretching the front forearm muscles by placing your hand here on your palm and slightly pushing it down. So you want to slightly push it down. Keep it nice shoulder level. Make sure you're not going too low. Keep it nice and high. No, nice and level. Make sure you're breathing. And again, the stretch. You should feel a nice little stretch here. And again, for most tennis players, this will be a very good area to stretch from all that racket gripping. Yeah. Relax. Breathe in, breathe out, and the other hand. Okay, we're done with arms, and now we're going into the last stretch. This is going to be our last stretch, and it's for the neck. And this is probably the one I need to do the most. But this is probably one of the most difficult stretches to do. Is the neck is really tight, usually for a lot of people, people that work at the desk and office, and also people that exercise and do sports. The easiest stretch for the side of the neck, so we're looking at these muscles right here, is you go down, you can sit on your hand. Almost sit on your hand, or you can grab your ankle, so that what you want to do is you want to make sure that this arm is fixed, that it's not coming up into the stretch. Yeah. And the first one, the easiest one, is just holding this down, making sure that your hand is kind of fixed there, and then gently, very, very slowly turning your head sideways, or tilting your head to the side, towards this shoulder here, towards the opposite shoulder. And breathing in, breathing out. Be very careful with this stretch. Neck is a really difficult area for most people. Loads of people have neck problems. So you got to be careful, but also you don't want to leave it unstretched. You want to stretch out your neck. Yeah. Great stretch. Yeah, again, if it hurts, don't do it. But if it's fine, then I encourage you to do this every day if you want. Yeah, I'll do it every day, but I get lazy. Oh, nice. Ah, that was nice. And then we do the same thing on the other side. Yeah. So again, you put your hand down. So make sure you're kind of not lifting. If you don't kind of fix it, then it's just going to come with you, and this shoulder will lift up, and it's actually not going to lengthen this muscle. So what we want is holding the shoulder down somehow, and one way to hold it down is by fixing your hand underneath. And again, we're going towards the other side, towards the right shoulder this time. Yeah? Breathing and feeling all these side neck muscles lengthening. We hold it 30 seconds. Now, so that's the side neck. What I normally do, I try to also stretch out the back neck, just at the back, because neck has a lot of muscles. Yeah, it's not just the two muscles here. But there's a couple of more neck stretches that I do, and I think they're quite important. Is the front neck and the back neck. Yeah, so the way I stretch the front neck is maybe starting with one side and kind of leaning again holding on to something, fixing your hands so that they don't come up with you, with your stretch. And then you might want to hold down your chest a little bit, because what you're really looking for is kind of stretching the front of your chest, the scalenes muscle. Really difficult muscle to stretch or massage. But that's the one you want to stretch. So you kind of want to feel, you can also push your head up or slightly back and sideways. It can be very difficult with the stretch, and hold it for 30 seconds. And that's how we stretch out the front neck. Very important, because a lot of times you see people's head kind of go forward. It's because these muscles really tighten and it brings your head forward. Yeah, and then you end up like that. But if you stretch them out, and you stretch out your chest, and you stretch out these scalenes muscles here, in the front of your neck, then your neck is just gonna not bring your head forward, your neck muscles. So that's the one for the front. For the back, it's a bit easier. The front's really hard for me. And I think most people will probably not like to stretch the front as much. And the back one, again, maybe sit, fix your hand, and then you hold your head by the side, and then you kind of bring it forward a little bit, and you will feel a nice stretch here at the back, almost going into your head. Yeah, but that's where you want to get in, because your neck muscles, guess what? They attach to your scapula, to your head. Yeah. And that's the one you want to do. You want to turn and get in a different range. If you turn your head a little bit, from this position to this position, you'll hit a different muscle group. There's so many in the neck that there's tons of stretches you can do. And then you change and you do the other side. Again, don't forget to breathe. It's 30 seconds at least. That was good. Nice. So that's it for, I think we've done all the muscle groups. The big ones, obviously there's loads of small muscle groups that you have to have a very specific stretch to kind of get into that muscle group. But I think, as a first session for stretching, that was pretty much covering most of the muscles, most of the bigger muscle groups, the ones which most people will struggle, and especially tennis players, hips and glutes and neck and forearm, all of those things will be definitely something that everyone at some point will need to stretch. So good luck stretching, guys. If you want any recommendations or any more stretches, please feel free to leave comments and write me directly, email me or call me, and I'll make another video if we need to, on more stretching, more deeper stretching into deeper muscle groups, and hitting, deep down. But for now, stay safe, keep stretching, keep fit, and I'll see you next time.